Hello everyone, welcome to Study Buzz. In this video, we will be studying about nutrition in plants. Okay, we already have studied about the food, right? If I talk about the food is very important and it is made up of different nutrients like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals. Now, all organisms, if I talk about, they require the food for themselves, as well as the animals depend directly or indirectly on the plants for their food. And talking about the mode of nutrition in case of plants, okay, so to understand that, let's first know what is nutrition. Nutrition is nothing but it's the mode of taking the food by an organism and its utilization by the body. The nutrition in which organism make themselves the food is what we call as autotrophic mode of nutrition. Auto is nothing but self and trophic means nourishment. So therefore, plants are called autotrophs. And the animals and the other organisms take in the food that is prepared by the plants, or they depend on other organisms for their food. So this type of mode of nutrition is what we call as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Hetero means other and trophic, as we know, means nutrition. So the animals or the organism which depend on other organism for their food are called heterotrophs. We know that the plants prepare their own food, right? If the plants have to prepare their own food, like how we make the food in the kitchen, same way there is the kitchen of the plant as well. That is the leaf. So this leaf contains a pigment called chlorophyll, which is involved in the process of photosynthesis. This word itself indicates us photo meaning light. Synthesis means preparation or making. So how does this photosynthesis actually take place? So the atmosphere has carbon dioxide. The soil contains the water as well as the other minerals. Through the roots, the water moves to the other parts of the plants, to the stem, right, to the leaf. And the green parts of the plant contain a pigment called chlorophyll, which is helping in the absorption of the sunlight. So these are the prerequisite that is required for the photosynthesis to take place. One is the carbon dioxide, another is the water, the pigment that is the chlorophyll, and in the presence of sunlight, what do the plants do? They take in the carbon dioxide, water, in the presence of light, they are going to produce carbohydrates as well as oxygen. This oxygen is used by the other organisms for their survival. Now that we know about the carbon dioxide is being taken up by the plants or the oxygen is given out, this actually happens through the stomata. The opening and the closing of the small pores called stomata in the leaf results in the exchange of gases. So this is how the plants prepare their own food. Now that the plants have prepared their own food as carbohydrates, right? We also see some of the leaves which are not green. They, as you can see in this picture as well, this has more of red in it, right? Sometimes the leaves are also yellow, right? Does that mean that it does not have chlorophyll? It does have chlorophyll, but the other pigments are more. Such type of leaves are called variegated leaves. Now, the plants, they prepare their food in the form of the carbohydrate, but they also require the other nutrients, right? Like the protein. Protein, as we know, are the nitrogenous substance which contain the nitrogen. So from where do the plants absorb or get this nitrogen? Nitrogen, we know that it is present in the atmosphere, right? It is present in the air. And the plants absorb this nutrients, that is the nitrogen, they cannot absorb it directly. There are some of the bacteria that are present in the soil, which is going to help in the absorption of this. Apart from that, the farmers also add fertilizers which are rich in nitrogen so that the plant fulfill their nitrogen requirement. That is when this absorption of the nitrogen takes place, or the plants, when they use up this nitrogen, they also synthesize the proteins as well as the vitamins for their growth. So we have talked about the autotrophic mode of nutrition. But there are also some plants which do not have chlorophyll and they cannot synthesize their own food. Now the question arises, how are they going to survive? Right? So they depend on the food that is produced by the other plants. We are going to look into the other modes of nutrition in the plants, starting with the parasitic mode of nutrition. So here in this picture, as you can see, this yellow colored slender plants that are there, this is the Casputa plant. So this Casputa plant, or also commonly called as Amarbane, it takes the ready-made food that is made by the host plant. Since it derives all the nutrients from this host plant, this is called a parasite. So, this mode of nutrition is what we call as the parasitic mode of nutrition. Apart from this, have you heard of plants they eating up the insects? There are some plants like pitcher plant, Venus flytrap. These plants may be green, okay? They actually are green and they also perform photosynthesis. But they grow in the place where there is deficiency or the nitrogen deficient soil. So to meet their requirement of nitrogen, they trap the insects and get the nutrients from the insects. That is, they get the nitrogen requirement from the insects. So these plants are called the insectivorous plants. Apart from that, you might have also observed when we keep the bread for a longer time, there appears whitish pores on it, right? So this is these organisms are basically the fungi, and they have a different mode of nutrition. That is, they are going to absorb the nutrients from the bread. This mode of nutrition in which the organism taking the nutrients from dead and decaying matter are called saprotrophic nutrition. And the organisms are called saprotrophs. Fungi also grows on pickles as well as some leather clothes, other articles. Whenever we are going to keep it in some moist kind of atmosphere, this is basically going to form. The fungal spores are also present in the air, and when they land on this wet as well as the warm things, they are going to germinate and grow. So this is basically all about the saprotrophic mode of nutrition, where they are going to depend on the dead and decaying organisms for their food. Okay, there is also another mode of nutrition, that is the symbiosis. What is meant by symbiosis? In case of symbiosis, the two organisms, let's say A and B, they are mutually benefited from each other. For example, in case of lichens, there is a chlorophyll containing partner, which is the algae, and a fungus which live together. Now, the fungus is going to provide the shelter, water, and minerals to the algae, while the algae is going to prepare the food. And this is utilized by this fungus. So in this case, both of them are getting benefited. So this is all about the different modes of nutrition. So a time comes when the plant is going to utilize all the minerals or the nutrients from the soil. So when all the nutrients or the minerals are absorbed by the plants, ultimately a time will come when there will be no nutrients or the minerals that are available for the proper growth of the plant. So for that case, we replenish the soil. And how this can be done? That is by adding the fertilizers as well as manures. These fertilizers and manures, they contain the nutrients such as the nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, and these nutrients need to be added from time to time so that we basically enrich the soil. We can grow the plants and keep them healthy if we can fulfill the nutrient requirement of the plants. Also, the crop plants absorb a lot of nitrogen and the soil becomes deficient in the nitrogen. So sometimes they need the nitrogen in the soluble form. There's this bacteria called rhizobium which can take the atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into usable form. But this rhizobium cannot make its own food. So how does it get its food? So see, it is going to live in the roots of the leguminous plants like gram, groundnut, peas, beans. Okay, and in return, the plant is going to provide the food and shelter to this. So they are also in a symbiotic relationship. This association of this rhizobium as well as the leguminous plants really helps in the nutrient replenishment of the soil, right? So that the fertilizers are used in lesser amount. Now that we have talked about the replenishment of soil as well, a question arises about the insectivorous plants. These insectivorous plants, are they completely heterotrophic or not? Right? Here, if I talk about the insectivorous plants, we know that they perform photosynthesis. Just for the new nitrogen requirement, they are dependent on the insects. So we can say that the insectivorous plants, they are partially autotrophic and partially heterotrophic. Let's summarize what are the things that we have learned in our today's video. We have talked about the mode of nutrition in plants. So it can be either autotrophic. We know that most of the plants, they prepare their own food by performing photosynthesis. And what are the ingredients that are required for the photosynthesis? That is the carbon dioxide, water, in the presence of the chlorophyll and the sunlight. They're going to prepare the carbohydrates and the oxygen. And we looked into another mode of nutrition, that is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, where we have talked about the parasitic mode of nutrition, the saprotrophic mode of nutrition, as well as symbiosis. We have also talked about the insectivorous plants, how they are going to trap the insects to meet their nitrogen requirement. As we know, the plants prepare the carbohydrate for the preparation of proteins. As these are the nitrogenous substance, they need the nitrogen. And there are bacteria that are present in the soil which helps in the utilization of this nitrogen that is present in the air, and hence the plants, they prepare their proteins as well as vitamins. So that's all on this chapter of nutrition in plants. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you found it interesting, do like, share it with your friends, and also subscribe for more such videos. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.